In this video, we're going to talk about the setup item chart of accounts. In QFloors, we have set up a basic set of accounts. They're already created when you first open QFloors, and it's this list. They're an example of what we expect as far as your accounting setup. You'll notice that you have regular account names and account categories. You'll also find that if you open this little window, so I'm just clicking and dragging and drop where the account name is, it's going to open up a sequence number field. Inside the sequence number field, you'll find the different numbers that QFloors uses within the database to keep track of accounts. From number 2 to 100, QFloors uses those accounts automatically as it's doing general accounting inside of QFloors. We call those system accounts. And we recommend that you don't change any of those accounts at all. Like account number or sequence number 50 is accounts receivable. When you save an invoice in QFloors that has a balance due, QFloors puts that balance due to this accounts receivable, and it uses the sequence number 50. If you were to come in and decide that you were going to change that to be a different account than accounts receivable, QFloors would still use number 50 as accounts receivable inside the program when it's saving information. So any number that you see here from number 2 to number 100, do not change those. It will mess up the QFloors accounting system if you do that. You can go in and save any of these or change any of these accounts that aren't between 2 and 100. So like the automotive expense, you could click on that account, come up to the account name, change that name. Whenever you change or add a name into the account name, you want to hit enter after you've typed in the name. In the setup, enter is the most reliable way of making sure that an account name is or any data is going to stick in the field where you're typing it. You can also change the category of the account, so any of those can be edited and changed as you need to. If you need to create new accounts, you click the new button here. QFloors creates a new line. If you don't have the sequence window open, you'll see that the line appears to be blank, that this is a valid account at this point. It cannot be deleted. You can only change it. So in here, you might want to go in and put in an expense for a financial expert. And what you pay him on those, that would go into that account as you created things in QFloors for that. At this point, I can save this and it will save this. If I have a blank line here and go to save the chart of accounts, QFloors won't save it because at the very least, every account line has to be expensed or categorized. So if I click on a new one here and I have a blank line here and I get to this point and think, no, I'm not going to make any changes. I don't really need one. The very minimum that you must do is select a category. And after that, you might click that you don't want it to show in QFloors. There I have a category, and I can go ahead and save this, and QFloors will save the changes and update my chart of accounts here. In QFloors, when you've been using an account and you no longer wish to use it, say like this automotive equipment account, if I've stopped using that, I can click on that and I can uncheck the show box, and then QFloors won't display that for me to select as a valid account inside of the QFloors program, and I've effectively stopped using that. You don't want to then come back later and add or change this account name, because if there was data previously in QFloors for the automotive equipment and you change that account to be, say, an expense account, QFloors is going to take all of that previous data and move it over to that expense account for you, and your older financials may no longer be valid. You cannot delete an account out of QFloors. We don't have a mechanism that would go through and make sure that no information was actually stored in that account, and by closing that or deleting that account, that you might alter your financial statements. So we just make it so that an account within QFloors cannot be deleted. You also in QFloors have basically what I call a flat account system. So you have all your basic assets, liabilities, expenses, income in here. But there are no sub accounts available. So inside of QFloors, if you want to group things together, it's best to set the account names so that they are alphabetically next to each other. So you might have your automotive equipment, and underneath that in fixed assets, you might have automotive equipment dash accumulated depreciation, so that those two appear next to each other on a financial page. The other thing that we recommend is that when you're changing an accounting system, so if you're just starting with QFloors and you need to input your current accounting chart of accounts from your current accounting system into QFloors, you can export this chart of accounts as you see it here by clicking on this export button. QFloors will then save a file. It's in a comma-separated value format, which you can then open in Excel and print from there. You can also do some different alphabetizing inside of that, and then do your printout. But if you print a list from your QFloors chart of account that we've set up, and from your current accounting system's chart of accounts, you have a list from both, and we recommend that you go through your current accounting system's chart and delete, scratch out any of those accounts that you no longer use. It'd be a great time updating QFloors to get rid of some old accounts in your old system that you don't want to use, and then start matching those accounts that you're keeping up with the accounts that are already in QFloors, and you just check those accounts off, saying, okay, these are accounted for on both sides. Then after that, you would have a list on the QFloors side that you don't have checked off. So these are extra accounts at that point. As long as they're not in that 2 to 100 range, you can go ahead and make whatever changes you need to those accounts simply by saying, okay, I'm going to edit this account from my prior system. I'm going to edit the QFloors account to make it the same as one from my prior accounting system. And then at the end of that, you'll probably need to go in and make new accounts and add the rest of the accounts from your previous accounting system. And that would be a great time at the beginning of QFloors to kind of clean everything up and get everything where you wanted. That would be the best way that you could accomplish that, is by exporting and then putting out your QFloors chart of accounts.